Say hello to this man who at first glance could easily be your next-door neighbor, the Little League soccer coach, or a trusted friend. He was friendly, clean-cut, and very intelligent, but Ahmed Patel was anything but trusting. The Justice Department reported that Patel operated an elaborate scheme, embezzling over $22 million from an NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Patel was sneaky and elusive, if only he was wearing a Jaguars jersey. Maybe he could have helped the Jags to that victory that they needed so badly, curing quarterback Trevor Lawrence's ills of missing the playoffs. But instead, this off-the-field wide receiver was rooting for the wrong team, wearing the wrong jersey, and his point spreads were completely off. The FBI says that Patel lost double-digit millions in online betting and spent millions on an extravagant lifestyle with excessive spending on luxurious high-ticket items.
On the field, the Jacksonville Jaguars have enjoyed high-flying success this season. But off the gridiron, new federal charges accuse one of the team's former employees of astronomical theft to the tune of $22 million. The Justice Department laying out how Ahmed Patel, a Jaguars employee from 2018 to 2023, used an elaborate scheme involving virtual corporate credit cards to steal all that money and allegedly spend it on lavish items, including a Florida condo, a new Tesla Model 3, a country club membership, a $95,000 watch, and online gambling websites. Kaylin Collar with The Athletic broke the story with her colleague Katie Strang.
Is this as crazy as it sounds? A Jaguars employee responsible for financial planning is accused of stealing $22 million.
It is as crazy as it sounds. This is not an everyday headline. This is a very unique story. He was supposed to be safeguarding this business's finances, and instead he was actually accused of stealing from the team.
In a statement, Patel's attorney, Alex King, says his client suffers from a serious gambling addiction and checked himself into a rehab facility this spring.
So in essence, Patel and his attorney sought to garner sympathy by claiming that this scheme to defraud the Jaguars was due to an addiction to online gambling. But Patel's crimes far exceed just gambling, and even so, we're not talking him swiping a few bucks, which would be bad enough, but a far more strategic method of fraud and extortion. The FBI disagrees, stating Patel created this deceptive scheme to fund his lavish lifestyle. It was apparent that Patel checking himself into a rehab facility was one of the oldest play calls from the book of theft and embezzlement, especially when attempting to reduce his prison time. Not to mention, according to the FBI, Patel was also accused of another crime of dishonesty at a previous employer.
Prosecutors say he disguised his extravagant purchases and sports betting as fake transactions on the monthly expense report. He spent $78,000 on private jet charters, over $77,000 at the Ponte Vedra Beach Inning Club, and $47,000 for Tiger Woods' 1996 U.S. Amateur Champion putter. Patel saying he thought the next big win was around the corner and would solve all of his issues, adding his gambling snowballed out of control. In its investigation, the FBI says it found Patel also embezzled funds from another employer. In the courtroom, Jaguars representative Mega Parikh saying Patel was, quote, our teammate and he betrayed us, end quote, saying they're still dealing with repercussions of Patel's actions today.
Court documents show that Patel used his role as the administrator to make hundreds of purchases and transactions with no legitimate business purpose. Then, to hide and continue to operate the scheme, Patel created accounting files that contained numerous false and fraudulent entries and emailed them to the Jaguars' accounting department. For example, Patel would use a variety of methods to hide his illicit transactions by omitting them from the files while still having the total dollar amount of expenditures match the balances paid by the Jaguars for the VCC program's line of credit. By hiding his fraudulent transactions, Patel was able to highlight legitimate reoccurring VCC transactions, such as catering, airfare, and hotel charges, and then duplicated those transactions. Patel's fraud began in September 2019 and continued until he was fired by the Jaguars in February 2023. Up next, Patel faces a judge and is sentenced, and the FBI and the IRS intercepts Patel's playbook.
A downfall from luxury living, from flying on a private jet to a Jaguars game, to lounging on a boat in Miami for an international racing event. This former Jaguars employee who embezzled millions from the team because he said he has a gambling addiction is preparing to head to prison. He did not respond when News4Jax reporter Ann Maxwell tried to question him moments after he heard his sentence.
We understand the gambling addiction argument, but what about the country club membership, the trips?
31-year-old Ahmed Patel faced a judge today who told him he will spend more than 6 years in federal prison for his crimes.
He spent most of the money he stole from the Jaguars on online sports gambling, but also on personal expenses such as lavish vacations, private jets, spa treatments, concerts, sporting events, a $95,000 watch, and more. News4Jax reporter Ann Maxwell was in the courtroom where Patel apologized.
We understand the gambling addiction argument, but what about the country club membership, the trips? Is there an explanation for that? Ahmed Patel was silent, leaving federal court after being sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for stealing more than $22 million from his former employer. Do you feel like that sentence is fair? Based on the facts of the case, federal prosecutor Michael Cooligan had been arguing for a 7-year sentence.
I think it was a fair and just outcome.
Prosecutors said Patel used his position as a financial planning and analysis manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars to spend millions on the team's virtual credit card for his personal use, creating phony statements to cover it up. A government analysis found Patel spent more than $21 million of the Jags' money on online gambling sites FanDuel and DraftKings, and funneling more than $5 million to his personal accounts, spending nearly $79,000 of embezzled money to travel on private jets, $200,000 on golf memorabilia, $78,000 on a country club membership, $140,000 on eBay, $25,000 at restaurants and bars, and $234,000 on his home and vehicles. Patel's attorney said his client suffers addictions to gambling, alcohol, and drugs, but has worked hard to turn his life around, getting sober, going to meetings, and even starting a Gamblers Anonymous chapter in Jacksonville Beach. Patel told the court today in front of friends and family who packed the courtroom to support him he was sickened with shame, saying he can never fully convey how sorry he is to those he hurt. He said his sobriety has given him clarity, and he is committed to using his story to help others who are struggling. The court also ordered Patel to pay back more than $21 million in restitution, making payments of $250 a month once he's out of prison. He has the opportunity to appeal this sentence and 90 days to turn himself in. Patel's attorney suggested in court today his client was spending so much money on stuff so he could resell it to keep gambling. Meanwhile, the government argued Patel spent money to live a life of luxury. I mean, you see some of the photos here. These were entered into evidence. Prosecutors pointed to how Patel spent about $279,000 on travel, making trips to Miami, Sea Island, London, and more.
As of the date of this recording, March 20th, 2024, Patel has not been remanded to prison, although his 6.5-year prison sentence is set to begin soon. Thanks for watching Southern Confidential, and for more coverage on true crime stories like these, hit subscribe.